Welcome to the deep dive. We're really zeroing in on a fascinating time in your baby's life those weeks around 4 and 5 months old.
Yeah, absolutely.
You've shared some of what you're seeing, and it's pretty clear this is a time packed with changes. Your little one's really starting to engage differently.
It is. It's a huge shift, really, from being more observational, maybe, to actively exploring. It's quite something to see it happen.
It really is. So, okay, let's dive right in. What are some of the biggest developmental leaps parents are likely seeing around this, 4 to 5 month mark?
Right.
Let's maybe start with movement, how they're moving.
Okay, motor skills. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're probably seeing some really exciting things. Around month 4, lots of babies start that roll from tummy to back.
Ah, the first big move.
Exactly, and propping themselves up on their forearms during tummy time, getting stronger.
Right.
Then, heading towards 5 months, that rolling might start going both ways.
Okay.
And they often find their toes, which is, yes, incredibly cute.
Always the toes.
And, everything heads straight for the mouth. That's how they investigate.
Standard procedure.
Totally. But what's really interesting is you start seeing more purpose in the rolling. It's less accidental. It kind of reflects their understanding cause and effect, planning little moves,
Like little strategists. That's a great way to think about it. Planning those moves. Okay, and what about seeing? You mentioned their focus changes.
Yeah, vision is maturing incredibly fast, too. By 4 months, they can typically see right across the room
Wow.
and track moving things much more smoothly. That improved tracking is a big step for how they interact with everything.
Makes sense.
Then around 5 months, that ability to recognize familiar faces, familiar objects from further away, it really sharpens up.
Oh, that's lovely.
You might notice that little spark of recognition when you walk in, even if you're not right up close. Based on, what parents like you are sharing, this probably explains why they might suddenly seem so excited to see you from across the room.
Oh, that recognition is just... It's magic, isn't it? Makes all the sleepless nights feel a bit more worth it.
Definitely.
Okay, shifting gears a bit. What about sounds? All those cute little noises they make.
Ah, yes, hearing and voice are on a fast track, too. Month 4, you'll hear lots of cooing, maybe some giggles erupting.
The best sounds.
Totally. And they get much more sensitive to your tone of voice. That's huge for early communication.
Right.
Then by month 5, they often start making sounds that are more like consonants, the ba's, the ma's.
The beginnings.
Exactly. And you might even catch them trying to imitate sounds you make. It's the very, very start of pre-language stuff, those first building blocks for actual words. It's pretty incredible to watch.
It's like they're warming up for future conversations. And socially, what's blossoming there?
Socially, yeah, around 4 months, they're clearly recognizing their main people, their parents, caregivers. You get those wonderful social smiles.
Melt your heart smiles.
Absolutely. Then by 5 months, lots of babies hit this stage. People playfully call it like flirting. Flirting. Okay.
Yeah, lots of laughing, babbling, really actively seeking eye contact with you. It's this really lovely, playful engagement that starts to shine. Shows they're getting the hang of connection, interaction.
That seems absolutely adorable. And emotionally, are we seeing new expressions there too?
Yes, for sure. Around 4 months, babies start showing things like boredom or frustration more clearly.
Oh, interesting. How so?
Well, you might notice them get fussy or turn their head away if an activity goes on too long or isn't interesting anymore.
Okay, making their opinions known.
Exactly. And by 5 months, they're increasingly seeking comfort from familiar people and starting to anticipate routines, which, as you might be noticing, can be super helpful for getting a bit more predictability in the day.
Right. Like knowing the bath means bedtime is coming soon.
Precisely. That anticipation can really be a game changer sometimes.
Okay, now, the topic always on parents' minds. Sleep. What's the deal with sleep around 4 to 5 months?
Sleep. Okay, so for many, month 4 brings something wonderful. Sleep consolidation.
Meaning they start having longer stretches of sleep at night, more continuous sleep. But this is also prime time for the famous or infamous 4-month sleep regression.
Right, the dreaded regression.
Well, here's the thing. It's really important to know it's not actually a regression, not in the sense of going backwards.
Okay.
It's more of a permanent shift. Their sleep cycles are maturing, becoming more like adult sleep patterns.
More waking up.
Potentially, yes. Because, like adults, they now cycle through lighter and deeper sleep stages, and they have brief natural awakenings between those cycles. The regression part is often just them needing help linking those cycles back together. It's a sign of brain development, actually.
Okay, a shift, not a regression. That framing helps.
Right.
And feeding. Still just milk at this point.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Still exclusively breast milk or formula. They do get much more efficient at feeding, though.
Right. Quicker feeds, maybe?
Often, yeah.
Yeah.
And you might notice them watching you eat with, like, intense interest.
Oh, yeah. Your food?
Exactly. But they aren't developmentally ready for solids yet, even if they look fascinated. Pediatricians usually start assessing readiness between 4 and 6 months, but you really need to wait for those specific signs.
Got it. Wait for the green light from the doc and the baby's cues. And you mentioned this whole phase is super sensory driven.
Oh, hugely. Their main way of learning about the world right now is through their senses. Touching things, listening, looking, and definitely putting everything in their mouths.
The mouthing phase.
It's how they learn textures, shapes, what things are. Sensory exploration is basically their full-time job.
Makes sense. So with all these big changes happening, what things kind of stay the same from the earlier months? Maybe evolving a bit, but still core.
Good question. Well, like we just said, feeding is still all about milk. That's constant.
Okay.
Sleep is still crucial. They still need a lot, maybe 14 to 16 hours in a 24-hour period. But you might see it getting more organized, more predictable naps emerging, perhaps.
Fingers crossed for predictable naps.
Always. And tummy time. Still essential every day. Need it for strength, coordination. But the good news is, as they get stronger, it often becomes more enjoyable for them. You might even get smiles during tummy time now.
That's a nice reward.
Totally. And of course, that close physical contact, skin to skin, hearing your voice, smelling you, that remains absolutely vital, foundational for their emotional security and development.
Good reminder that those basics are still so important. Okay, let's circle back to that sleep shift. You said consistent routines are key. What else is going on there, and how can parents navigate it?
Right, so the key thing happening is their sleep cycle maturation. They start having those adult-like cycles of light and deep sleep, and the brief wakes between them are normal. The challenge, or the change, is whether they can get back to sleep on their own after waking.
Self-soothing.
Exactly. So consistent routines, especially at predictable wind down before bed and consistent nap routines, really help. They provide cues that sleep is coming.
Makes sense.
Offering comfort when they wake is obviously important. They still need you. But this can be a good time to gently encourage some self-soothing skills. Maybe putting them down when they're drowsy but still awake, giving them a chance to find their own way to sleep. Gently.
Gently. Got it. That reframing around maturing cycles is really helpful. Less scary than regression. Okay, beyond sleep, what other big shifts or changes tend to pop up around 4 or 5 months?
You'll definitely see mobility increasing. Rolling stops being a surprise and becomes more purposeful, like we talked about.
Rolling with intent.
Yes. And some babies might even start showing early signs of scooting on their bellies, just figuring out how to move that body to explore.
Starting to travel.
Little by little. And their awareness of the world just keeps expanding. They start recognizing routines like, oh, bath time usually means bedtime is next. You're figuring things out. Teething might also start making an appearance, or at least the signs of it.
Oh, the drool.
So much drool. And chewing on everything, maybe more fussiness. Even if an actual tooth doesn't pop through for weeks or months, the process can start underground.
Good heads up.
And emotionally, you might start seeing clear preferences. Like maybe they prefer one caregiver slightly or a particular toy. And you might see the first hints of mild separation anxiety as they start understanding they're separate from you.
Wow, it really is such a dynamic time, so much learning and growing. And you mentioned something about a mental leap. What's that about?
Yeah, this idea comes from the Wonder Weeks framework. It suggests that around this age, babies often go through a big cognitive jump, a mental leap. Basically, their brain reorganizes and they become aware of new things about the world.
Okay, sounds intense. How does that show up?
It can manifest in different ways. Sometimes increased fussiness, maybe more clinginess than usual, or changes in sleep patterns again. And it's not necessarily because they're sick or teething.
Brain growth.
Pretty much. Common signs might be wanting to be held constantly, getting overwhelmed or overstimulated more easily than before, maybe suddenly being wary of strangers or new places. It often links to them becoming more aware of changes or separations.
That's really interesting. So if your usually chill baby is suddenly super fussy for no clear reason, it could just be one of these leaps.
Exactly. It's a possibility to keep in mind. Some parents find it helpful to track these potential leap periods, maybe with an app or just a note in a journal. It doesn't fix it, but it can sometimes help make sense of those phases feel a bit less bewildering.
Yeah, understanding the why can make a difference. Okay, good tool. Now, while we're talking development, are there specific things parents should keep an eye out for? Things that might signal a potential concern, developmentally or health-wise?
Yes, it's always good to be aware, though, without causing unnecessary worry. Key things to be mindful of would be a lack of consistent visual tracking, not following objects with their eyes, or not showing those social smiles we talked about. Also, if their limbs seem consistently very stiff or maybe unusually floppy, or if they have very limited spontaneous movement.
Right.
Other things include not responding to sounds, not making any babbling or cooing sounds by the end of month 5, really not attempting to roll or push up or engage during tummy time,
Okay.
or, and this is important, a sudden loss of skills they previously had if it's not just because they're tired or a bit unwell.
Regression in the true sense.
Yes. The absolute main takeaway here is trust your gut. If you have any concerns about your baby's development, talk to your pediatrician or health provider. Early intervention, if it's needed, can make a huge difference. Don't hesitate.
Crucial advice.
Yeah.
Always best to check. Okay, let's shift to how we can actively support their development, especially language, even though they're not talking yet.
Absolutely. Even these early babbles and coos are so important. Responsive interaction is key.
So talking to them.
Yes. And talking with them, even if their part is just a gurgle.
Yeah.
Simple things work best. Narrate your day. Okay, now we're putting on your cozy blue socks. It helps them connect sounds to objects, actions.
Makes sense, like sports commentary for babies.
Kind of. And repeat and expand on their sounds. If baby says ba, you can say babola. Yes, you see your bottle. Ba, bottle.
Reinforcing their attempts?
Exactly. And crucially, take turns.
Mm.
Pause after you speak. Give them a little space and opportunity to reply with their sounds. Treat it like a real conversation.
Love that. Back and forth. Okay, practical stuff. What about toys, gear? What's good to introduce or rotate in around now?
Good question. For motor skills and play, think soft toys they can easily grab. Play mats with the different textures are fantastic for sensory exploration, hands and feet. And safe teethers are usually a must-have.
Teethers, definitely.
For sleep, if you haven't already, maybe transition swaddles or sleep sacks if they're rolling and need arms free. Some families like white noise machines to create a consistent sound environment. And thinking ahead to feeding, even though they're not eating solids, you can start introducing things like soft bibs, maybe letting them sit in the high chair for a few minutes while the family eats, just for exposure.
Get them used to the idea.
Yeah. And maybe even give them a soft, baby-safe spoon to hold and explore, supervised, of course, just for tactile experience.
Right, not for eating yet.
Not yet. And for routines, board books for daily reading are wonderful. Maybe a soft lullaby playlist. Gentle bath toys can make bath time fun too.
That's a really helpful list. So, on the other side, what should parents generally try to avoid during these months?
Okay, main one. Avoid starting solids too early unless your pediatrician specifically says so. They need to show all those readiness signs, good head control, sitting with support, losing that tongue thrust reflex, showing interest. It's not just about age.
Right, readiness is key. What else?
Try not to neglect floor time. Baby container swings, bouncers can be helpful for short periods, but babies really need lots of time moving freely on the floor to build strength and coordination. Limit container time.
Okay, floor is best.
Definitely. Also, screen time. Baby TV, apps. They really don't need it at this age. Your face, your voice, real-world interaction, that's the best stimulation.
FaceTime beats screen time.
Always. Also, maybe be mindful of super loud, startling toys. Their hearing is still developing. They can be sensitive.
Good point.
And finally, just reinforcing safe sleep. Always alone, on their back, in a crib or safe sleep space. Firm mattress, no loose blankets, no pillows, no bumpers, no stuffed animals in the crib. Keep it clear.
ABCs of safe sleep. Always important. Okay, any other pro tips or little refinements for navigating months 4 and 5?
Yeah, a couple things. Even though they aren't crawling yet, this is actually a good time to start thinking about baby-proofing basics. Look around secure cords, cover outlets, pad sharp corners on low tables, anchor heavy furniture before they get mobile.
Get ahead of the game. Smart.
Exactly. Also, really lean into establishing that calming evening routine before bed. Dim lights, quiet sounds, maybe a warm bath, feeding, cuddles. Whatever works for your family, but make it consistent. It signals sleepy time is coming.
Sets the stage for sleep.
It does. And during playtime, follow their lead. If they start looking away, seem fussy or distracted, they might be overstimulated. It's okay to take a break, switch activities, or just have quiet time. Don't push it.
Read their cues?
Yes. Oh, and mirror games. Babies often find their reflection fascinating around this age. Simple peekaboo in the mirror can be fun.
Cute.
And lastly, use everyday chores as sensory experiences. Let them touch different fabrics while you fold laundry. Let them listen to the sounds of cooking or smell safe things from a safe distance, obviously. Simple ways to enrich their world.
Love those practical ideas. Now, this whole period, it's exciting, but it can also stir up a lot of feelings for parents, right?
Absolutely. It's a real mix. You might feel like you're finally getting into a bit of a groove, maybe feeling more confident.
Right.
But then these rapid changes, the sleep disruptions, the new behaviors, it can feel overwhelming too. Burnout is real. Feelings of loneliness can creep in, maybe confusion about your own identity post-baby, and then, of course, moments of just pure, breathtaking joy.
It's a roller coaster.
It really is. I think the most important thing is to try and be kind to yourself through it all. Don't get caught up in comparing your baby to charts or other babies on Instagram. Try not to rush milestones. Focus on the connection you're building right now, today. That's what matters most.
That's such a valuable reminder. Be present, be kind to yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, looking just a little bit ahead, what's coming down the track around month 6? Give us a sneak peek.
Okay, month 6. You'll likely start seeing them get steadier with sitting, maybe needing just a little support around them.
Sitting up, big one.
Huge. And this often coincides with readiness for starting first tastes of solid foods if you and your pediatrician decide it's time.
Exciting.
You'll also see the very beginnings of understanding object permanence, that idea that even if you hide a toy under a cloth, it still exists.
Peekaboo gets really fun then.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And mobility continues, more efficient rolling, maybe more definite scooting, all those precursor movements, getting them ready eventually for crawling.
It sounds like they're constantly gearing up for the next adventure. Now, for parents looking back on these 4 to 5 months, any reflection prompts you'd suggest? Things to think about.
Yeah, taking a moment to reflect can be really nice. Maybe ask yourself things like, what made my baby really laugh this past month? Those deep belly laughs.
Mm-hmm.
When did I feel like I was really nailing this parenting thing, even just for a moment? What was I doing?
Good one.
What do I wish someone would just say to me right now? What support or encouragement do I need?
Powerful.
And maybe, how am I different now? How have I changed or grown in the last couple of months?
Those are really thoughtful questions. Great for journaling or just thinking about. Finally, it feels really important to underscore that every family's experience is unique, right?
Absolutely, essential point. Every single baby, every single parent, every family unit has its own rhythm, its own context.
Right.
Things like your cultural background, your support network, or lack thereof, any past trauma, neurodivergence in the family, financial stress. All these things profoundly shape the experience.
It's not one size fits all.
Not at all. The information we've talked about today, this deep dive, it's meant as a flexible scaffold, a general guide. Take what feels helpful, what resonates with your family, your baby, your situation, and please, just disregard anything that doesn't fit or feel right for you. There's no single right way.
Such wise and important words to end on. Okay, so to wrap it up, these months, 4 and 5, they're just incredibly dynamic, aren't they? A time of huge growth, deepening engagement, really big shifts.
Absolutely transformative.
We really hope this deep dive is giving you some valuable insights, helps you feel maybe a bit more tuned in to what's happening with your amazing little one, spark some aha moments perhaps, without adding to any overwhelm.
Definitely. And maybe, considering all these fascinating changes you're witnessing, just think, what's one new way you might observe or interact with your baby this week based on all this?